Oh yeah, I should probably put a description too.
Yeah. Can you hear me all right? Am I too loud or too quiet?
You sound fine.
All right.
Okay, now I'm just gonna give it a few, maybe another half a minute here to see if people file in or not.
Wait. Awesome.
And you're missing off of the, okay. Never mind, you're not missing.
Never
I
mind.
don't know.
All right.
Yeah, okay. You are fading in and out of here for some reason.
The stream?
No, out of picture.
Weird. Hey, we'll be able to troubleshoot if we tune in the stream through our Facebooks. See how that works.
Yeah, because it's some for some reason it's not coming up the way I want it to. Only if I keep this window on here. So, this is Dystopia Now, work in progress, episode 5. We're going to be talking today about the Venezuela situation and talk a bit about ICE, because I think both of those issues are relevant to what we are going through. I'm going to open up my Facebook and see how it looks. If I keep this window open, I can see you.
Yeah.
But if I change windows, the whole screen goes gray.
Yeah, I'm noticing. That's weird.
How are you today, hon?
Uh, you know what? It's been good. It's all been really good. That's like the only thing that's been going wrong for me personally. But all things considered, pretty well, pretty good. Better than ever, even. How about you?
I'm alright. Just about to get my job back, which is gonna be nice.
Right, right, yeah.
Um,
Uh, Being unemployed, it's equally as yeah. You can't even chill, because you have to worry about not having a job. But
yeah.
whatever.
So we do have a lot to talk about. We might as well jump in. I don't have any segues um into this yet. So
Yeah.
basically um we had, and I mentioned this on the last episode last week when I was talking to Allison, hold my Molotov. We
Oh,
opened up
nice.
we opened up by I talked a little bit about what had happened in Venezuela, where the um, internationally recognized legitimate leader of Venezuela was kidnapped by Delta forces under the Trump administration, or as I call him, the orange pedophile. Um,
Yeah. At least we
and
can put them by the color. He's like
yeah,
the only French one, so
and the justification, and by the way, normally this kind of stuff would have to go through like Congress, but there's been lots of times in the last 20 years where the executive branch of the government has taken actions overseas that has not gone through Congress. I think the last thing that they did that actually went through Congress was starting the Iraq War, which apparently a lot of people didn't learn from because we're about to get stuck in another quagmire here if they keep, you know, how do I put this? Hitting the beehive with a stick.
yeah. Uh,
They attempted to justify it under the colonial Monroe Doctrine, which apparently allows the U.S. to deploy its military anywhere in its supposed sphere of influence, which is pretty much anything in the Americas, North America, South America, mostly South America, right? Because that's what they consider to be their supposed backyard, which I find to be full of shit. But because it's Donald Trump, he has to name everything after himself, so he renamed it the Don Roe Doctrine, which, according to him and his cronies, allows him to just simply take over anything and anywhere in Latin America and just get away with it until Congress stops him. What was your reaction when you heard about this?
Right. Um. Well, it was so pretty interesting. I was having my vacation time, right, with my husband, guy, man. We're
Mm-hmm.
in Mexico City, and it's been a tough, well, couple decades, or at least for me, being Venezuelan and all, right? But being there that night, that last night, you that in Mexico was everything started to feel nice for a change. I was becoming able to like you know loosen up, not being well. We were smoking a real fat joint that night, so that was helping too. I was starting to like let the muscles relax and be like, you know what, man, it's gonna be fine. This reminds me, we were talking about the time I had like ego death. Once I hit a bong after taking a tab of acid. Yeah, I'm a lightweight. That's all it took. And I had to go to this place. I had to see the realm of ideas, the world of subjective, incorporeal thought, thoughts. And I remember coming out of there just screaming like, China won! Guys, China won! China did it! It's all over! China! While waking up, napping out of the trance state of the ego death. And also it's gonna be alright. Was that was what was the hardest thing for me to accept. It is gonna be all right, no matter what happens. In a way in which you start to accept that you're just part of a bigger thing. I was already a Marxist Leninist when I had this experience, right? So you
Hey,
have some
hun,
sort of.
can you turn your volume up on your side a little bit?
Is that all right?
Maybe just a little bit more.
Is that all right?
Okay. And
There gotta be an option for yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's just Sierra commented and let us know that
Yeah,
we need to turn our volumes up just a little bit.
this thing should have like an monitoring option. It's a bit weird. Mm,
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can turn my output volume up. See if that changes anything. La 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 la. All right. So back to the issue at hand. Uh, so the leader was kidnapped,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
and we apparently the government is just saying that they're going to just directly rule over the country.
yeah. I don't know. It's also humiliating. Like,
Oh, you went back down again.
really? I like literally undid the
Are you far away
how
from
about
your
that?
speaker?
I am speaker. I'm using my earphones actually.
Oh, okay. You were because you were loud there for a second.
Am I still super loud?
No, not anymore.
Yeah, okay. I was in Mexico City. I was super chill, bombastic, fantastic, all cool. And I just checked my phone and bombs were dropping on Venezuela, right? And at that point I don't know what's going on. I'm always like overreacting to news, and I went like, oh shit, right? With my husband there, while we were all just chilling. Last day of vacay, at least I got to have that time. And right on the last day, we had Venezuelan food that night, and we come home and in the early hours of the morning, I'm awake, right? And I have to report as I do on the news every time that something happens, and I have to report like on the minutes um, as things were happening on my own country, being bombed, at least the capital city, right? I didn't know what was going on in the rest of the country. My family there, and no one in my family got hurt. Nobody was in Caracas, but I don't need to. They might as well, right? That's the thing. People die either way. Now we know the numbers. Over 100 people died, many civilians. And Marco Rubio was talking about how this was just that was just a distraction, so that we could take Maduro and stuff, which is also all it does is try to insult us, and we're kind of used to it. But they achieved absolutely nothing. That's what I was expecting some kind of Iran kind of attack, right? Where they just do some gesture, some posturing, some little thing, just bomb a little and get out of there. But they took Maduro this time, and that's why I only think about the long-term plan, like the precedent that this is setting, because it's been already been done before with Noriega, right?
Mm-hmm.
Believe what you will about that guy, they took him either way. Was that legal? I don't think so. I remember Chavez talking about this because Chavez would speak about how they were preparing a plan in the Pentagon um, to frame him as some kind of also like a drug dealer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not his government is supporting the drug trade. No, him personally is involved with the narcotics and stuff. I remember people talking about us like about Venezuela being having close ties to the Colombian guerrilla. I'm gonna say it in Spanish. I don't wanna see how people say guerrilla. I just keep picturing a big ape, so I'll just say guerrilla.
Yeah.
And nothing. There was no evidence. Fuck Colombia. Who did Colombia bomb? Colombia, I think, bombed Ecuador allegedly, so they could attack some guerrillas that were um, in cahoots with the Venezuelan government. That was the justification, and they bombed Ecuador, a little Colombia back in the day. We knew it as the Israel of Latin America. That's what Colombia was, right?
Really.
Yeah, um, like till a decade ago when Alvaro Uribe was president, and that guy is a legit, honest to God narco trafficker. He is in papers of the DEA and stuff like that. There's a whole file on him. But he's good friends with the American government. Plan Colombia, that was all under his administration, at least partly. I think it's come before him, but I don't quite remember.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I wonder how long this accusation of drugs is going to mystify anybody or capture anybody because they use that as a line first to be like, this is why we're going to go after them, but then they immediately turned tail and they said, oh no, this is about the oil. So I can't understand anybody these days who still thinks this is about drugs when the CIA is the biggest drug dealer in like the world. It's
yeah,
complete
which is
hypocrisy.
yeah, well we know that already, but it's just ironic, which is why they like recently dropped the point they were trying to make about Maduro being the leader of El Cartel de los Soles, right?
Yeah,
And
they're made up, right?
the what?
Is that made up?
It is something that the Venezuelan opposition would talk about a lot. The only people that I heard talking about it like a sure deal is the Venezuelan opposition, like Maria Corina, um, and a bunch of dummies, a bunch of liberals, and and other assortments of weak stand users that stand being their brain. They don't really know what they're talking about. They never offer any kind of evidence or nothing, right? They just need to put something out there because, the opposition was from the start saying like the United States doesn't need our oil. They have all the oil in the world and they don't want nothing from us. They're not gonna invade us. They're our friends and all that. And then all this happened. Like this was like a big litmus test for the whole world, right? And I don't want to self-aggrandize and give Venezuela the credit for that. It is a step. It is a step in the imperialist ladder of escalation towards the rest of the world, right? And the working class. And Venezuela is a big step, but we already had the president again, and we said this so many times. They're doing that in Gaza, in Afghanistan, in Somalia, um, Libya. I'm not gonna even name more because I could spend the whole day here.
Well,
But
now that they've done it, they're already threatening other countries like Cuba. I believe they're threatening what, Colombia.
also, yeah, Mexico.
But like, what gets me is they take the leader Maduro out. They want to put him on trumped up charges in a show trial. They want to say
Yeah,
that he was, you know, carrying machine guns or something in another country as if that's a crime. Makes no sense to me. And the moment they took out Maduro, his second in command was sworn in.
yeah.
And she's not taking no shit from the US either. So what did this really accomplish?
That's the part. That's why I'm mostly just mad and humiliated in just a spit to the face, right? We are not prepared to avoid that kind of thing from happening. We know how much money the United States spends in the military industrial complex alone, and we cannot keep up in that way. That's why we're always preparing for what may come in the way that Vietnam prepared or Afghanistan prepared. Even if we have like bigger toys, bigger guns, many other more advantages and favorable circumstances that give us some grounding. But we could not have stopped this from happening technologically. Most of all, because everything went dark, and you can see that if there was some inside collusion, conspiracy, that's also easy to do when you are there's a poor country, a colonized country, a bunch of traders and opportunistic people are gonna show up amidst your ranks, right? That's why Stalin, the USSR did what they did back then. It's wartime. It's literally wartime, and that's what some people in Venezuela hasn't haven't come to terms with, or
Yeah. I
they
think for
start to
the
realize that
yeah.
they're on the side of the enemy, and they're gonna have to stop making jokes on the internet and being silly at a point. They wanna complain about Venezuela being authoritarian and all that. It's gonna get worse. It's gonna get worse, and for all the right reasons, because it's wartime. It has been wartime for decades now.
Yeah, it seems like the post-revolutionary nations that do the best to protect themselves from counter-revolution are the same ones that get labeled authoritarian because they're taking steps to protect themselves from counter revolution. The way I see it, these countries, after post revolution, as long as the United States still exists, at least, as long as an empire still exists to antagonize them, these nations are under siege and constantly at war. Like, they got to keep protecting themselves from, like you said, insiders that are coming in, that are U.S. backed, that are Fed backed, uh, CIA backed, and they're gonna attempt to destabilize the post-revolutionary nation. That's how the early days of USSR was so successful because of like Stalin's purges. Cuba has been very successful in preventing their kind of revolutions, and I don't think that United States is going to be able to do to Cuba what they did to Venezuela, and if they do, I think there's going to be a lot of repercussions for it.
Well, they tried that already, right?
They've
So
tried
we
it
know
like
that.
tons of times.
Yeah. So we know how that goes, which is again why they did the only thing that they knew they could have done, and that I called it. As soon as the bombing happened, I was like, either this was just like an psyop or just like something to do so that people won't be saying that Trump was just bluffing, or this is gonna be a another decapitation strike attempt, right? And it was that, and it was because so many people died so that that could happen, and it's just a big PR stunt to set a precedent, to keep escalating, to keep scaring people into submission. It's like a big, it's like, and now Greenland also like all around there, and this like the imperial boomerang thing, like this stuff is coming back to white people too, because of course you're gonna get there. Europe is completely subordinated to the United States, minus a few countries, right? Like the ones who were careful, like Russia, Bielorussia, um, well, Serbia's there, Hungary. Well, you know, all kinds of people, just people that have some sense of sovereignty. Like whenever they speak about Putin, and some people were drawing parallels here, and it's like, well, you know what? At least they were smart enough to know what to do to protect themselves. And it's underreported what took place all the way um, up to the Ukraine war that we have now. And I'm seeing the same thing happen with Venezuela. As if this, like, wow, the United States did all that out of the blue. It was not out of the blue. Like, they declared war on Venezuela now. It didn't start now. Soon after the revolution happened in 2002, we had the coup, and
Mm-hmm.
so many people have been murdered. And yeah, internal enemies, right? They come from all over. When Allende fell, a bunch of the opposition to Allende um, the, was like far left groups and parties, and there was like terrorism and all that. We know how we feel about that, taking from what Lenin has described about that. And now we know that many of them were like plans, like financed and armed by the United States, the CIA, and some other fronts, the NED, and they got them weapons. But commie weapons, they got them AK-47s, and at any rate, oh, it must have been Russia or China or something like that, but it was the United States all along, and that weakened Salvador Allende's government a lot. At the end, many people died, suicide bombings, all kinds of people. Um, I'm not trying to say that the Communist Party in Venezuela is like this, but you should watch out anyway. Don't be fooled by the names people call themselves. I said that before. Because something happened to a little while ago. They released a bunch of prisoners, right? Venezuela in a deal with the Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Because, okay, taking into account again, we need to survive what the state needs to do the most. There's no revolution to be done or have if you don't stay alive as a revolutionary state. Hoping that you truly are that, right? Because we know how the Soviet Union failed. And for example, one of the guys that they freed was the guy that the Communist Party of Venezuela supported in the elections, which again, because their party, the PCV, was taken over by the government over some grounds, some stuff, some little paragraph in the constitution that allows them to do so, kinda. I'm not saying that was fair, but what they did next was supporting this guy, and his name is Enrique Marquez. And he was freed today, or a little ago. I know this because some guy also like tagged me in this picture. Like some people are already saying I'm too lenient on Maduro and the PSUV because it's not real socialist. Venezuela is not really socialist, and like that's another conversation. But this guy that was free, that the communists supported, he himself supported the Juan Guaido assignment. He was a fan of Juan Guaido. I'm gonna make a post about that later. I don't know what happened there. Was that like the barest minimum, the best they could find, put their support behind? The Communist Party is already very slow, small, and you can tell by the These guys endorsed this guy that is an anti-commie, anti-Cuban, pro-Guaido guy. They threw their support around and behind the guy, and now they're talking about his release and how unjust it was, but they never bring up that part. So where are the standards here? Because we already know that we don't put ourselves out there to be all about electoralism. So that's a conversation that I would have with them. Because sometimes they seem to be a bit ultra in that sense of the word. Some guy affiliated with them was telling me about how this whole thing was a failure. With the We weren't able to defend the homeland. The gringos got in and out, and it was so humiliating and all that. It's like, yeah, and we know that they can do that kind of thing. What they cannot do is come in here and take over the oil, boots on the ground, like they're saying they're gonna do.
Hmm. Yeah,
That's not gonna.
the oil execs take one step into that country, they're gonna get shot.
You've seen the videos. You and I frequent the same. Anyone that follows my page has seen how the Venezuelans are taking to the streets, and they are armed. And we know this because the opposition and the mainstream media have been talking about the damn colectivos and the Chavista motorcycle gangs that's armed and they are criminals and they kill people. You know what? Maybe some of them do. I don't know. It's just a boogeyman that they've made for attacking the revolution for so long, for so many decades. When Chavez took power, people were saying, and some believe this, that the state was going to take your children away, send them to Cuba to be trained, and that your house was going to be seized, and that they would station troops inside people's houses for some reason, and a lot of different like mad, yeah, like the native peoples, many indigenous communities were warned that if Chavez took power, they were just gonna wipe them out. So it's been a war, a psychological war, all kinds of so like hybrid warfare. Anything and everything
Are you
has been
talking
run
about like
fighting Venezuela.
ops? What you talking about like ops within the country?
Yes, that many times we don't know if this is just the opposition alone or the opposition with the aid of external agents like the United States. And most of the time it is because they have put so much money in this thing, millions and millions and millions of dollars. Because it's a good investment long term, which is
Hmm.
what I say. Because some gusanos are like, when I show them this document that speaks about the fall of Castro, I don't know if you have seen that, like this declassified document that I'm always using it against these people, and it's like it's in the office of the historian, it's in the in a government website, and it talks about um, how they know that Cuba that Fidel Castro in Cuba has a lot of support. The lowest they found is like 50%.
I've heard he's
Oh, here
very
it is.
popular.
Yeah, yeah, here it is. Oh, maybe it's not. All right, never
Yeah,
mind.
I'm not gonna be able to see that.
Memorandum from memorandum for the Deputy Assistant Secretary of the State of Inter-American Affairs, Mallory, to the Assistant Secretary of State for Inter-American Affairs, Robotom, something. This is dated Washington. Okay, April 6th, 1960. The
I think
decline
you're
and fall of
still sitting
Castro.
kind of far away from your speaker.
Speaker, or you mean the microphone?
Microphone, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you a
All right.
distance from it? Because you're still
No,
very low.
no, it's right here. Maybe I just needed to up the gain. How about that?
Yeah, 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 totally.
Uh, it says the decline and fall of Castro. Salient considerations respecting the life of the present government of Cuba are: number one, the majority of Cubans support Castro. The lowest estimate they have seen is 50%. That's the lowest.
Hmm.
There is no effective political opposition, just like in Venezuela. And we knew that already inside of the country, but it seems like the Americans are just finding out now that there is no effective political opposition. You've seen Maria Corina. Remember Maria Corina Machado?
Yeah,
She's been
yeah.
a, she's been around since like forever. She supported the first coup that brought down yeah, Chavez for a little period of time,
So
like it's
she's been doing this forever now,
forever.
and she got the bullshit Nobel Peace Prize,
Yeah.
and
And you can tell
now
by what I told you.
she wants to give
But
her bullshit Nobel Peace Prize to the orange pedophile.
yeah, from what I tell you, from we all know, Maria Corina has been at this for a long time and all within Venezuela. So she already supported a coup that happened and that brought down Chavez, and they did nothing to her. When they speak about there not being any laws or separation of powers in Venezuela, I don't know, maybe now it's a wartime time again, right? But back then, when the first coup happened that disposed of Chavez for a little bit, for a little while, Maria Corina supported it. And you know what the TSJ, el Tribunal Supremo de Justicia, like the judicial wing of the government said?
What do you say?
they said they said it was not a coup. They said it was not a coup. It was just a little spat, a little misunderstanding that happened. But Chavez wasn't couped, and there was, well, you couldn't use that basis for prosecuting anyone. And Chavez let it slip. He said, "All right, if that's what they say, I cannot do nothing about it." And all them people walked free. Because if it was the United States or any normal country, Maria Corina would have been jailed
Mhm.
right then and there, and she would still be in jail now. But the
Yeah,
Chavez
but
regime,
because we're talking about the global south, that it's okay for imperial powers to do whatever they want with impunity. Um, first, the uh, the first excuse is about drugs, which is not true. Now, I think the excuse that you're getting to is talking about supposed cares about democracy. Like, oh, Venezuela is doing these things to their own people. Meanwhile, living in the U.S. and we have, groups like ICE doing shit to our own people. And there's so every accusation against countries like Venezuela or Global South
it's a
from
confession.
the Imperial
Yeah.
West is a confession.
Hmm. Yeah. And now that you mention the Cartel de los Soles, before I forget again, there is some presence, there is something to it. There's a 60 minutes episode that's called the CIA Venezuela Cocaine Connection. This is from 1993 when the the lapdog Venezuela government that was embedded with the Americans, like they were friends. The CIA ran an operation in which, through which they moved cocaine through Colombia all the way to Venezuela, and from Venezuela they took it to the United States. And they were supposed to observe and see who was doing what, right? All that. Um, but they lost track of it or something. The cocaine reached the United States and got sold like anything else, right? And that might not be the first time that that happens, right? And we know that that's not the first time that that happens because we
Mm-hmm.
know about the Iran Contra affair. We know about the heroin triangle at Southeast Asia and the Afghan poppy plantations. Um, yeah, the production numbers that were giving out those fields when they were there.
Here's a question I
What?
wanted to ask
Yeah.
you.
Hmm.
Since this has happened, I've seen a lot of people, even some people on the so-called left,
Yeah.
saying that, oh, Maduro was evil, Maduro was a dictator. What would you
Hmm.
say to those people?
Yeah. Well,
Because
I
I
would
don't
say,
believe that he is. I know that the rest of the international community recognizes him as the rightful leader of that country. There's only like the United States and some other European countries that don't. So there is a big divide, but it looks like most of the international community does recognize him as a legit democratic leader of the country. What would you say to people on the left who are saying that, like, oh no, he's still bad or he's a dictator or something?
well, I would say if you're all commies like we are supposed to be and all that, they're all dictators. It's all a dictatorship. It just depends what kind of dictatorship and what the material circumstances are. Is Maduro a dictator? I mean, by nature of the state, yeah. I mean, it's a dictatorship of a certain class. Is it the bourgeoisie? not quite right, because it could be though. Let's not make a false dichotomy here. It could be some rival capitalist country that the United States doesn't like, or it could be an actual like socialist-ish, at least, experiment that's happening, and the United States doesn't like they never do.
Hmm.
Did Maduro win the elections, which is something different? Oh man, bad time for being sick. Uh, oh brother. Okay. Well, the Chavistas have been winning every single presidential election. Again, I just read you the file on Fidel. Communist influence is prevailing. The government and the body politic at an amazing fast rate. Military opposition to Castro from without Cuba would only serve his and the communist cause, which is interesting. Interesting. They must have forgotten about that part because the Chavistas are, you know, we as Venezuelans are like more committed than ever to like at least survive this. The society, the little thing that happened in my country that I saw be born and rise and affect me in such a positive way, that the United States want to take that away from us without our say. Because again, the Chavismo have been winning elections nonstop, and they have always said that they were a fraud. Always. This last one. So what you're telling me is that only what you're telling me is that now it turns out the Chavistas did win all the past elections, but this one now in the midst of all these aggression and attacks and the sanctions and Trump speaking about having we would have taken their oil, we would have so much oil, but Biden was buying a lot of oil from this dictator, and that's no good. But it's just tar. That oil is really bad. It's like tar. No good. Now it's really good, right? And now the Chavistas won every single election before, but not this one. When the other candidate was who? Maria Corina Machado and his puppet guy? Because he was like, she was barred from running for office. And that was only because of some corruption charges and things like that. Not even because she wanted Venezuela to be bombed. And now it's happening. And it's curious too that she fled Venezuela to get her Nobel Peace Prize. So she wasn't around when the bombs fell like she wanted. The irony is like, wow, crazy times. So I don't think Maduro is a dictator in the way that liberal democracy wants to tell you he's a dictator. I
I
do think
I
he won
agree.
the last elections. I do think he won the last elections because even if I was in the opposition, and sometimes I side more with the Communist Party, only because they made the right kind of criticism. If there's one sensible ish opposition in Venezuela, it would be the left opposition that comes with the Communist Party and other organizations like that. Far as I know, I don't know what the government might know about them. I have no way of knowing. So it's like, let's not be idealistic about it because they want us to be having this conversation, the propaganda about what Maduro did or did not do. I really, that comes with having a state, man. The
Yeah.
people who are criticizing them either have a state just as bad, as violent, as repressive, and as authoritarian, and during peacetime, or they're not in power at all,
Well,
which
that's just like I
reminds
was
me.
saying before. Like, if you're a post-revolutionary nation under siege by Western forces, there is no peacetime. Like, there's no peacetime. Like, you don't get peacetime until your aggressors are no longer existent. But there's a whole bunch of countries that recognize Maduro legally as a leader because only like USA, like I said, some other European countries disputed the 2024 presidential election. But the countries that do recognize Maduro as a leader, the ones that have investigated, there's tons of countries from Africa, tons of countries from the Asia and the Middle East. In Europe, there's Belarus, Russia, and Serbia. They all recognize Maduro as a legitimate leader. And North and South America, there's Antigua, Barbuda, Bolivia,
Barbuda.
Cuba, Dominica, Honduras, Nicaragua, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines. There's lots of countries out there that do not contest the election. And when I look at it from bigger picture, the fact that the United States has been spending the last over 100 years trying to destabilize post-revolutionary nations or destabilize any nations that refuse to work with their corporations and be exploited by them, it seems to me like the U.S. I hate to say it, living here, are at least the government are the bad guys. And if the bad guys are telling you someone's bad, I don't. I just simply don't believe them.
Yeah, it can go two ways. Either it's something bad, and they're like, "Hey, we're supposed to be the bad ones." Like the last time that the Americans, like, when was the last time, like George Carlin would say, like, last time America fought white people? When was that? In
World War II.
Yeah, and who did they fight? The Germans. Like
Yeah,
they wanted to take over the world, and they're like, "Bullshit, that's our job."
yeah,
And
exactly.
that's it. So either it's because someone is like cutting into their game, like being a nuisance, or you are really like a threat to their exploitative world governance system. Um, or you might just be some reformist, some guy like Jacobo Arbenz in Guatemala, like Mossadegh in Iran, which is a whole nother thing. Um, there's so little for why the U.S. would um, attack you, right? Um,
Well,
so
they'd
it
attack you because you're a
yeah,
sovereign nation and you don't want to be
yeah,
exploited.
yeah. Basically, if you're sovereign in a way that they don't like, they just, and why wouldn't they, right? They have the means to make you comply.
Yeah,
Again, like we saw with the murder of Renee Good, like, and what they're fucking saying now, like, yeah, comply. What did they like? Soros
yeah.
said,
They
right?
they
Just
they
don't
went
resist. Just
over
don't resist.
overnight. They went from "Don't tread on me" to "Just comply."
Yeah,
And whatever
it's
happened to
funny to
"Don't
see.
tread on me"? Whatever happened to that?
Yeah, it's a bit
Oh,
funny, you
but
know.
before we jump into ice, I just want to say one last thing about this Venezuela stuff. One, they're not done fighting. This is not over by any stretch of the
Let's
imagination.
hope it doesn't come to that. Let's hope it doesn't come to that because
And
the Venezuelans,
yeah,
last time something like this happened, it was when the Spaniards tried to take over.
well,
That didn't go well.
from what I'm hearing, China is like, waging a legal war right now with their
They're
lawyers. I don't
mobilizing a bunch
know
of lawyers,
with a bunch of
but
lawyers. I don't know how well that's
yeah,
going to do, but you know, Venezuela has been they keep making accusations against Venezuela, like, oh, Venezuela is dealing with America's enemies, but why are other countries our enemies? Because they don't want to be exploited by our corporations? Like, why why are they considered? They're not my enemies. I live in America. I live in the US, and they're not my enemies. China's not my enemy. Russia's not my enemy. As far as I'm concerned, my enemy is the ruling class within this country.
oh man, have a bad cold.
I'm sorry to
Uh,
hear that, hon.
yeah, that's okay. Um, yeah, and it's more about the magnitude of because it's not that we are not exploited by American companies. We are. It's just not enough. Like Chevron, right? Who is
Yeah,
already in Venezuela? I think Chevron is already in Venezuela, right?
I think it's
They're
either
already
Chevron
there.
or Citgo. I can't remember which one.
Nah, Citgo's all gone. Citgo was our
Oh,
PDVSA subsidiary that we had in the States. The one that would refine our heavy crude and send it back like in gasoline form. And the one that Chavez would have this little program that Chavez would give free heating oil to brown and black and native communities in the coldest states of the states so that people wouldn't freeze to death. So that's all over. And also the kids that would get like a free marrow bone transplant in Italy with and that would be paid for by Citgo. But that's also gone.
hmm.
Those children are dying, and yeah, no, it's Chevron right now. The one that's allowed to is Chevron, and the other companies are jelly. Like Edson, the guy from Edson was talking recently, like because this is mostly them. This, if you take out Trump and all that, and it's just the invisible hand of capitalism controlling the United States. This is just the oil companies being like, hey, I want to get a turn. I want some oil, some Venezuelan oil, because they were all fighting for it back then. Not even back in the 1940s, like the Edson guy says, because Royal Dutch Shell was in Venezuela. Um, Standard Oil at the time, and I think they became Exxon, so they were also there. My dad worked for Shell for a little while. VP Oil, I remember those being around.
Well, obviously they're stealing. Obviously,
Yeah,
Venezuela is stealing our oil by not letting companies exploit it.
yeah, because they signed a totally fair deal with Venezuela in which they asked for the ownership of the Venezuelan oil for the next 200 years or something. I don't even think that's true because it was too embarrassing even for the last the fourth republic times that we call. So even they had to, but they are literally quoting that as being the case. Venezuela took our oil in the 1970s when the first hydrocarbons law was signed, but Chavez took that
Yeah.
further, and then you would see nothing but Venezuelan, at least like gas stations. PDVSA, it was all PDVSA. No more BP, no more Edson, and free oil. I mean, free gasoline. It was so cheap that it was free. You have to tip the guy that fill your tank a good amount because that's like all the money they're gonna see. If you fill your tank with too little gasoline, it would be the price would be so cheap that you just didn't pay. You just went. It's like move along with a tank full of gasoline.
So,
Uh,
so speaking of countries doing things to their own people, which is a common, a common accusation against Venezuela. Let's talk about a group of people in this country who's actually
all
doing
right.
things to their own people.
Yeah.
What do you know about ICE? What has you been your experiences with it?
Uh, well, you know me. What what uh, what the average American knows, and a little bit beyond what the average American knows. Definitely what the average American communist knows. So yeah, I know about ICE. Yeah,
Yeah, they're basically an organization that was created in 2003 in a supposed response to 9/11, and it's basically just being wielded right now by the Trump administration to do what I consider to be an ethnic cleansing, because we know they're going after brown people indiscriminately. We know they're not going after people who are not citizens of the country. It doesn't matter if they're citizens of the country, they get snatched up anyway with no legal due process, kidnapped and sent to literal concentration camps
or shot in the face.
or shot right in the face. It to me, it's kind of weird that it took a white person being shot in the face for people to get up in arms about ICE.
Not
Uh,
that weird though.
I mean, not that weird, but I guess it's kind of predictable for
Just sad, just a bit disappointing, but we know how it is. It is what it is, and
yeah.
that's how it is.
So there's lots of protests going on now, and I think it's a good thing. Um, I I I think they should have been going on before, but I'm glad they're going on now, and I hope they don't stop. Um, I also read that Tim Walz is the governor of Minnesota is deploying National Guard. Some people think it's to stop the ICE, but I think it's to stop the protesters because this is not the
Yeah,
first time Tim Walz has sicked the National Guard on protesters.
yeah, and
So,
they're all working for the same people. So, if anything, if you wanna go in that direction about what is happening, then it's still not a good look. Because then it's like we're gonna have the federal government fighting the local government and the people on the other side, and it's gonna, I don't even want to talk about a civil war or anything, but that's gonna. be mentioned more and more as time keeps going
Yeah.
on, as the contradictions get more noticeable and dire. And this is one, right? Now it's white people suffering
Hmm.
too. Damn, I did not see that coming. I did, but
Yeah, we've had indigenous people and black people screaming from the rooftops for over 200 years like, hey, this is what the country is really is, but they don't get listened to. They didn't get listened to back then. They didn't get listened to at any point in American history. And now that things are starting to affect white people, suddenly we're like, oh, things are getting worse. Yeah, but things are getting worse for white people. And
yeah,
Tiffany says it's not to stop ICE. I agree. I think that he's definitely trying to stop the protesters, not ICE, and that's horrendous to me. It's also horrendous to me that uh, we have such a fear of immigrants in a country full of settlers. It's like,
it's very ironic.
yeah, it's almost like the settlers want a white nation, and ICE is doing the work to make the nation whiter. That's why you see so many people defending them with bullshit logic, like, oh,
Yeah,
just comply, or some other shit.
and you get a bunch of Uncle Toms and Tios, Tio Tomas. I'm just trying to like translate that into Hispanic. Being amongst them, you know, like damn, it's just so fucking embarrassing. It's so I'm like, yeah. When the time comes, I'll just do whatever it needs to be done. I'll go back to Venezuela, make it through the war, and just so that they let me in charge of the gulag. I would be so fair, so righteous,
I would love for you to be
so
in charge of your gulag.
thank you. Thank you. I would see so many of my Venezuelan friends there that bullied me my whole life for being a chavista. Just being like, well, guys, I think we should keep our own oil and we should all get along, no matter what color we are or how much money we have and all that.
Yeah,
That was just, that was
and
just,
and and the U.S. The guys there, they're not on our side.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, well, the whole ice thing is like one of those things that we were not betting on happening, but we know that sooner or later it's again because I think the best way to describe it is like pointing to these people who have been like oh yeah, like this is the Israelification of the United States, the Nazification of the United States. We have started to become just like them, man. Although we made Israel what it is today, and we
Right.
inspired and we inspired the Nazis to become what they were. So when do you start taking accountability and when do you start like seeing yourself in the mirror for what you are, man?
Yeah. I
It's all
I
class.
I don't
It's
feel
white
like,
people dying. It reminds you
yeah.
again if it's that it's all class. You mind if I smoke?
Whatever. I don't know if that's I don't think Facebook will have a problem with it.
Guys, this is tobacco, kids. This is a regular cigarette.
But this
Cause
is
you
like how,
see, mommy Lizzie's mighty stressed, mighty stressed.
yeah, I could see that because that's a, Venezuela is a place where you were, born and raised, and seeing it happen to your home country, it's got to be devastating.
I don't know Caracas that well, but I would like it to be still be there by the time I go back and take a look. Right?
Yeah, and as for my side of things here in the U.S., I want to see ICE abolished. I've always been wanting to abolish ICE.
At
This should
least
never have existed in the first place.
as a bare minimum. Yeah,
There's
but
no
a
reason
bunch
for
of
us to be treating
masked
immigrants like
people.
this.
Yeah, and what JD Vance said was so insulting too. This guy has fuel immunity. He was doing his job when this lady tried to run him over. This fire left lunatic. So I feel such a connection even with the white Americans. Like we're all getting fucked over by the same state. We have so much in
Yeah,
common.
yeah, especially the lies coming from Vance and Trump and Kristi Noem. Like I've seen the video. I don't have the video to show, but I've seen the video. She was stopped. and she didn't start driving away until he shot her in the head. Then she
See,
started driving away because she was dead and her foot went on the accelerator. She was a
see,
bystander. She was dropping her kid off at school. She was not
that
an
guy got.
agitator by any means at all. Sorry.
When you see the video, you can see that guy going so hard out of his way to get in front of the car so that he could get a clear headshot.
Yeah.
We know how pissed they are, how angry they are. These are little men who can handle their emotions. Some guy was commenting on one of my posts like, "You transgenders just get mad because people misgender you and then you shoot them," and I'm like,
We've
based. But other than that,
we've never done
other than
that.
what
We've
happened to
never
the
done
Second
that.
Amendment, man? What happened to the Second Amendment? The
Yeah.
same with this news. Oh, the Venezuelan, these brown, black, dirty Venezuelans are going out with guns. Well, didn't you like the Second Amendment? You know, I mean,
The
it's like a
Second Amendment,
vanguard
yeah.
thing. Like Lenin said, I also agree with the let's just let the vanguard have guns because there's a bunch of people in Venezuela that I don't want armed. Let's just say that. But still, there's such pussies that that's not even a problem in the first place. They're already scared shitless. That's why you only see chavistas on the streets
Yeah, if you
because
go
these guys
far enough
cannot.
left, you get your guns back.
These guys in the opposition, they can never make a legit. They can. To be fair, sometimes they can. But the big marches and get-togethers and all that, those are led by stooges. Those are led by puppets. Maria Corina, Leopoldo Lopez, Enrique Capriles Radonsky, Voluntad Popular, Primero Justicia, Acción Democrática, COPEI, all the old parties and all the old peoples that come from the old kings of the valley of eastern Caracas. These are the old slave-holding families that dominated Venezuela for 100 years. And
Yeah,
we don't want them back. We don't
yeah,
want them back. We know how they are. The last dictatorship that we had in this country was in 2002 when the CIA installed the Carmona dictatorship. That's why I'm like, if it's true that Chavez was a dictator, why did shit hit the fan like that in 2002? They deposed of Chavez, and back then the Chavismo wasn't as strong as today, right? So
hmm
it all fell off even harder. Unlike today, where they achieved nothing but give us our first Venezuelan lady president. So,
yeah,
first Venezuelan woman to be president of Venezuela, that's cool, even under these circumstances, whatever.
yeah. The
And
Trump
that's what they achieved.
administration is very stupid. They think that taking one leader is going to like cause them to completely collapse. It's the stupidest thing in the world because America has safeguards against that too. You
Yeah,
just
that's
you
why I think they don't believe that. That's why I think even they know that. But they just need to have their silly little guys with the red hats to believe what they say and feel good about what they did.
yeah.
So they
I'll say
just keep
something
voting.
about those red hats. I think they're the new swastika.
Yeah, just like the flag of Israel.
Yeah,
History will not look back kindly at those symbols, sir.
yeah. And as far and going back to ICE, like not only should we abolish them, but I think we should also start like holding lots of trials for the
Yes,
crimes that these people are
yes,
doing because we know that ICE is not really qualified to do what they're doing. They're being more funded than most militaries right now, and they're just letting people in with like no background checks, no qualifications. They're just they're just coming in, and a lot of times they're coming from fascist adjacent groups like the Proud Boys and the Three Percenters and God knows I don't even know the names of the rest of them, but you
the
wonder why
KKK,
the KKK.
Atomwaffen.
Yeah, you know like they're not having much rallies these days, probably because they're all busy in ICE ethnic cleansing the country little by
Where
little.
have I seen this before? Yeah,
But
food
if
for
I
thought.
say any of this, and truthfully, I get labeled a domestic terrorist by the government. And
Yeah, you and I
fascism
know.
fascism does
Yeah,
not have to announce itself as fascism. All it has to do is announce its enemies as terrorists. And that's exactly what this government is doing right now.
didn't the Nazis came in saying they were socialists? Like, yeah, that's why I keep repeating that thing about not believing. And you and I know that we're the kind of people that they would do what they did to Renee. And I
Yeah.
guess they would be right, but it doesn't make it right. Like any excuse that it's not, bro. the don't fret on me, people. We don't want to even have the chance that the police feels like they can shoot us in the face just by being in a station car. That's not the job. That's not ICE. That's not what ICE is supposed to be doing. If they're chasing immigrants and all that, why did they shoot a white citizen woman in the face? Well,
Because
I
they're a
know why,
bunch of
but
untrained Nazis. That's why.
well, they had the training that they needed. They just need to know how to shoot someone in the face that they don't like. And this
Yeah.
lady was getting their nerves, and her wife too. A
Remember,
bunch of
she wasn't.
dykes,
Yeah, she.
yelling at me. A couple dykes yelling at me. A man with a gun. I don't think so. That's all that happened there. That's all
Yeah,
that took place.
and that could happen to anyone. It happened to her. She was dropping her kid off at school, and she was trying to go, I guess, home or something. That can happen to her. That can happen to anybody, and it's already happened to people
And has
before
been
her.
happening for hundreds of years, but
Yeah,
we just had to get here so that we all are scared.
it's like
So
ICE
that's
is
the
like
thing.
their need. It's like that ICE is a new version of the old school colonialists that came into the country long time ago and tried to genocide indigenous people. We're kind of doing that. ICE is doing that again with just anybody who looks too brown or does not look white enough. Take them and just send them off
Or
to a
even if they're
concentration camp.
or even if they're white, they're just not the right kind of whites. Because
Yeah,
like you say, they did this already during the time of the robber barons and the corporations having their private little armies that they would send hunting even white people, white immigrants, Russians and Ukrainians and Roma people and
yeah,
Italians. If you even want to see them as white or not
Irish.
back then, because I don't know how the racist shit works, but it's just a devolving to that, like the late 19th century, early 20th century, and it's kind of funny. Like the
That's what I'm wondering.
1920s,
Yeah,
like the 1920s, we're not that haven't come such a long way. At least America hasn't 100 years
yeah.
ago till now.
I'm kind of a European mutt, but I'm also like part Irish and part Italian. I wonder when I'm going to be not white enough for these people.
It's not gonna matter. You're just gonna be the wrong kind of white, and it's not gonna matter even
I
if you're a
would.
purebred Aryan, um, Agartha,
Well,
super Jacobian winter soldier. It's
well,
not gonna
I'm certainly not going to make any threats on this podcast. Of course, I would never advocate for violence on this podcast because
never,
that would
never,
be
never,
illegal.
never.
But what I will say is,
And it will
God help
equals
any
bad.
ICE agents if I ever run into them.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably gonna be, rude, and then
Yeah,
if I
yeah.
say
I
something
will give them
back,
a piece of my mind. That's for sure.
yeah, I might call them names. That's all
Yeah,
I'm saying. I'm not gonna hold back and say, "You, sir, are a rude man."
yeah,
Just saying.
exactly.
Just saying.
I'll write a strongly. I'll hand them a strongly worded letter.
That's right. Just like the Democrats. Yep. Just like Schumer
But
and
yeah,
Jeffries. Yep.
um,
Like my heroes.
my hero Schumer and Jeffries. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I still think that now is the time to primary these people, and I don't
These are
agree
the
with
weeks.
anyone saying that we shouldn't primary these people. I don't really believe in electoralism is going to save us, but I think if any Democrats out there that actually care about what's happening to people in this country, that they would immediately support primarying Schumer and Jeffries. But I think some of them are talking about it, and some of them are saying not to do it. Um, I again, I don't believe in electoral politics, but if I did, I'd be saying, yeah, primary these assholes because they're definitely supporting a pro-capitalist party that's unabashed in its Zionist fascism and will completely let the Trump administration get away with whatever they want to because they know that they'll have the power to do the same thing afterwards because the Democrats are bound to win another election sometime and because of the ratchet effect they're going to keep using the same things that Trump did as and use Trump as an excuse for them to do it too. Kind of like with Obama and his drones. Obama and
Yeah,
surveillance. Bush did all the surveillance stuff, and then
good guy
Obama made it
Obama.
legal.
So Obama started the whole, again, the sanctions war
Yeah,
against Venezuela. So not, nobody, if anyone that sees like, oh, something just started now, dig a little bit further, because what happened was probably in the making. Like Ukraine was already like, they had first like the Orange Revolution attempt and all that. Things that take time. And what I read from the 1960s, that letter about Fidel Castro, Gusano, will tell me that's from decades ago. That's no longer relevant. Man,
history is relevant though.
these people, these states, the United States, they are thinking ahead, okay? They have their own 5 year plans. Just they don't tell you about them. And sometimes they do, a little bit at least, in these policy papers that they push out, like Project 2025, like the one attacking from advantageous grounds for the Russia Ukraine operation, which way to Persia for the Iran operation and all that region. They've been planning these things for a good while because that's
Yeah,
how they operate. So nothing happens because just
yeah,
because,
and the
okay? So we
Democrats helped
gotta,
them. You know, until
yeah,
I see Democratic leadership advocating for the abolition of ICE and holding ICE members to legal consequences for their actions, I don't see Chuck Schumer doing that. I don't see Hakeem Jeffries doing that. In fact, I don't even know what Democrats are doing that. I don't see any of them. I don't see any of them calling for the abolition of ICE and
yeah.
for like what they want to do is they want to reform ICE to be like acceptable to them, but it's not acceptable at all.
No,
I'm worried. I'm worried that the next Democrat is going to win after Trump and Vance, and he's going to like increase funding for ICE because that's exactly what would happen.
like it had happened before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, it's not gonna be up to them. We know it's all about the masses, and
Thank
they're
you,
just gonna have to
Tiffany.
read the room. They're just gonna have to read the room and see what to do, because we know that as a party, the Democrats are what they are.
Yeah.
The people in there, that might be a different story, and more people are getting radicalized, and more people from
Yeah.
more radical places are getting in the Democratic Party, or making their own little sections, wings, and at the end of the day, it's up to them. It's up to you guys. It's up to us as a people, as a class, and the bar.
I think what we need
Hmm,
is a true working class party, and neither Democrats or Republicans are a working class party.
that's hard. That's another thing that is hard, and that's just the nature of being a leftist. No matter where you are, we have a lot to learn about, that regard. In that regard, from the Soviets, the Bolsheviks, right? Everything that happened there, the
Yeah.
Venezuela example, what I just said about the Venezuelans and the parties and the, if you study the long guerrilla decades of fighting, same in Colombia, same in Chile. In the U.S., there are parties. There's CPUSA, there's PLA, there's DSA, right?
Yeah.
But
But
it's
we need a united working class
yeah,
party, I feel like, that's
yeah,
willing
no,
to engage,
that's the tricky part.
unfortunately, intellectualism, which
That's
is,
the tricky part.
yeah, but they have to be, working class. They can't be, made up of capitalists and investment firms
Yeah,
and
can't be the Democrats, that's for sure.
right
But again,
because
the duopoly has become so intertwined that it's hard to tell the Democrats from the Republicans now.
right
It's
because a
mostly just the
duopoly
rhetoric.
is what's profitable to the capitalist class.
So
And
yeah,
and
they're all compromised, they're all
yeah,
assets, they're all acquired. So we have to keep that in mind too.
yeah, the only people we have is each other, really.
Each other everywhere, as we are seeing now in this moment of internationalism. Also, my respects and my I owe my life to the Cuban people, maybe in a literal way, how they came into my country, teach people how to read, and setting up these little hospitals and clinics in little neighborhoods, little rural areas, so that people would, for the first time, see a doctor or a dentist, or and the ones that were in the palace around Maduro, the military personnel that died the night of the attack, all the 32 Cuban comrades that died there, like, yeah, we are forever in their debt, and they
I'm
fought
glad. Yeah.
like all the ones that died fighting for what they did, even the civilians that were just minding their own business. They will not be forgotten.
Nice. Is
Let's.
there anything else you want to add to any of the subjects that we talked about before we wrap up? Because we're going on an hour now.
Yeah, no, I'm like already exhausted from all this.
I hear you.
Anything else? I never shut up in my
And
page,
I
and
was really glad to hear everything you had to say about this today because I know that how much it affects you. And Tiffany agrees with us absolutely. Kamala wanted to expand ICE, and all the Democrats want to expand ICE because Democrats know that neoliberalism is fading, it's falling, it's dying slowly, and the only thing that can protect their power as liberals is fascism, and that's how liberalism gives us fascism.
yep, we know that part. And well, some other last thing I want to say, because a lot of people are gonna be all about Maduro. They're still making Maduro an issue. Maduro is meaningless. Okay, like that's why they took him
Yeah.
and nothing matters. What he is saying is a Chavismo, a perfect no, of course not. And I'm not gonna stop like criticizing them for whatever. But right now, at least me, I did my part there. If somebody asks me like specifically, particularly about things like that, yeah, I will agree. I'm not gonna throw other working class people under the bus so I can save face for the government. But right now, the only thing that I need to do, and I would like everyone else to be saying, is that nobody can do what was done to us. Nobody has the right to come in our country and bomb us and kidnap our president. Whatever
Hmm.
Maduro is or did, we deal with that in Venezuela. We are the ones who get to judge him and
Yeah.
make, that's our business. Because who doesn't really give a fuck? The guy who kidnapped him.
Yeah.
So never. Like, it's not even funny, and I don't want to see jokes about it, and I'm tired of this whole thing. The
Yeah.
only thing that I want to say, and everyone else to be saying, is you cannot do that. That should not have happened. We all have to do something about this and bring Maduro back, and Celia Flores. Let them go and let them come back, because they never had the right to take him in the first place. And that's
Yeah, agreed.
all.
And regardless of what you think of another country's leader, there's never any excuse to invade another person's country and kidnap their leader. It doesn't matter what you think about him. This country's sovereignty matters. It matters in the global south, and more people need to understand that. And
Yep.
if another country has problems that you think are problems, those problems can be solved by their peoples. We don't need to go invading their countries and imposing global capitalism onto their land, thinking that that's going to solve any issues, because it's not. It never is.
It could. Who knows? It all depends on the material circumstances, right? I always want to study things as they are. I don't like hypothetics. I don't like fake scenarios. Right now, here, what is happening right now, that's true there. Cause again, who gonna do this? Who's gonna come save the Venezuelan people? Trump?
Yeah,
Fucking Donald Trump? He's the one so worried about people suffering at the hands of Maduro. You know that's not the case. So don't even entertain that fucking train of thought.
yeah.
That's it.
Brenna Harmless adds a important exception here. Israel, because what they're doing is being funded by the US. I don't see any Democrats saying that we should be defunding
Yeah.
Israel because we should be doing an arms embargo on that country. We should have been since the Biden administration, but we haven't. Israel is
Yeah.
not just a country that has like this or that going on and we should ignore them. No, no, no. We're actively funding their aggression against indigenous people, and that is not okay.
You have to study each case in its own context.
Yeah, the world's a
That's all I'm
complicated
gonna say.
place, but I think the most simple part about it is that a sovereign country is a sovereign country, and we should not be aiding their destruction of anything.
Yep.
All right, thank you all for listening. This has been Dystopia Now. Never stop learning. Thank you, Elise, for being on with us today.
Thank you. Um, I kind of needed this to happen. Good thing you started this thing. That was many weeks ago because it's very important to be putting stuff out there. So thank you for having me here again. I will be certainly coming back if needed be, and I know it's gonna need be. So that's all, and hasta la victoria siempre. Patria, socialismo o muerte, venceremos. No volverán, comrade. See you in the next one.